very nice topic. And a very nice way to begin a very nice topic is something from Plutarch. Have either of you heard name Plutarch? Somewhere back there you may have heard his name. He's a Greek philosopher who appeared shortly after Christ disappeared. And he had many teachings that are very thought-provoking teachings. One of them is this topic of who am I? So a little subtitle, Embarking on a Journey of Self-Discovery. So his philosophy, one of his teachings, has to do with the ship of Theseus. So the ship of Theseus was a mythical event. This thing just keeps changing on its own. A mythical event where the king of Athens, whose name was Theseus, was called upon to slay a wild demon or minotaur in Crete. And so he got on a boat in Athens, made a journey across the sea to Crete, slayed the Minotaur, and came back. And 1,000 years later, they keep reenacting the journey of Theseus to slay the Minotaur. So this is a TED Talk that keeps changing on its own. I'm not changing it. And it's discussing the ship of Theseus. So here we go. I hope it works. The sound system should work.
Throughout the history of mankind, three little words have sent poets to the blank page, philosophers to the agora, and seekers to the oracles. Who am I? From the ancient Greek aphorism inscribed on the Temple of Apollo, know thyself, to the Who's Rock anthem, Who Are You? Philosophers, psychologists, academics, scientists, artists, theologians, and politicians have all tackled the subject of identity. Their hypotheses are widely varied and lack significant consensus. These are smart, creative people, so what's so hard about coming up with the right answer? One challenge certainly lies with the complex concept of the persistence of identity. Which you is who? The person you are today, 5 years ago, who you'll be in 50 years? And when is am? This week, today, this hour, this second? And which aspect of it is I? Are you your physical body, your thoughts and feelings, or actions? These murky waters of abstract logic are tricky to navigate, and so it's probably fitting that to demonstrate the complexity, the Greek historian Plutarch used the story of a ship. How are you I? As the tale goes, Theseus, the mythical founder king of Athens, single-handedly slayed the evil Minotaur at Crete, then returned home on a ship. To honor this heroic feat, for 1,000 years Athenians painstakingly maintained his ship in the harbor, and annually reenacted his voyage. Whenever a part of the ship was worn or damaged, it was replaced with an identical piece of the same material, until at some point no original parts remained. Plutarch noted the ship of Theseus was an example of the philosophical paradox revolving around the persistence of identity. How can every single part of something be replaced, yet it still remains the same thing? Let's imagine there are two ships. The ship that Theseus docked in Athens, Ship A, and the ship sailed by the Athenians 1,000 years later, Ship B. Very simply, our question is this: does A equal B? Some would say that for 1,000 years there has been only one ship of Theseus, and because the changes made to it happened gradually, it never at any point in time stopped being the legendary ship. Though they have absolutely no parts in common, the two ships are numerically identical, meaning one and the same. So A equals B. However, others could argue that Theseus never set foot on ship B, and his presence on the ship is an essential qualitative property of the ship of Theseus. It cannot survive without him. So, though the two ships are numerically identical, they are not qualitatively identical. Thus, A does not equal B. But what happens when you consider this twist? What if, as each piece of the original ship was cast off, somebody collected them all and rebuilt the entire original ship? When it was finished, undeniably, two physical ships would exist, the one that's docked in Athens and the one in some guy's backyard. Each could lay claim to the title, the Ship of Theseus, but only one could actually be the real thing. So which one is it? And more importantly, what does this have to do with you? Like the Ship of Theseus, you are a collection of constantly changing parts. Your physical body, mind, emotions, circumstances, and even your quirks, always changing, but still, in an amazing and sometimes illogical way, you stay the same too. This is one of the reasons that the question, who am I, is so complex. And in order to answer it, like so many great minds before you, you must be willing to dive into the bottomless ocean of philosophical paradox. Or maybe you could just answer, I am a legendary hero saving a powerful ship on an epic journey. That could work too.
So this is our next slide. The topic, the banner across the top was persistence of identity. And the persistence of identity implies the soul, because the parts of the body change, and the youthful body is gone, the young man's body is gone, and there's an old man's body, and then there's passing on to another body after death. So all those bodies and the parts of the bodies are changing, but there's persistence of identity. So that's the soul. Another example, this is a little bit before Christ. You see the dates of his life. It's Socrates. And in the painting, it's the celebrated scene where Socrates was condemned to death by drinking hemlock. So his crime was he was teaching about the soul. And the people of the time didn't like that idea. And so they took him to trial, and he was found guilty of teaching heresy. And so his penalty was death. And so drinking hemlock was what was called upon. So Crito, this is in his history, Crito asked Socrates, how shall we bury you? And his answer was, however you please, but you have to catch me first. And he drank the hemlock, proving or verifying or establishing that he not only was a philosopher, but he lived by what he had convictions in. Now here's another illustration showing three sets of pyramids, and body, mind, and intellect on the outside, and the inside is spiritual. The idea here is that spiritual is the supportive basis of the other three, or without the spiritual, the other three are meaningless. Bodies are meaningless without the soul's presence. Mental activity is meaningless without the soul's presence. Intellectual activity, similarly. So this little, you'll see this diagram, that little skinny guy, that's the soul, that's us. The spiritual entity is the basis and support of the coverings of the soul. And when that soul leaves, that's everything's kaput, it's finished. And in Bhagavad Gita, we have this nice teaching of introspection as a means, one of the means by meditation or introspection. Introspection is more a mode of goodness term. Meditation is indicating a specific activity of fixing the mind upon, as the painting is showing here, the super soul within. So by introspection, one can come to know who we are and the Supreme who we're eternally connected with. That's the idea of who am I is where the spiritual spark that's within, the persistence of identity feature, and within the body that's covering the soul, there's a form of the Supreme. That's what it's in this drawing here.